The Romulans are calling.
Making pasta mama.
You sneaky son of a bitch.
I'm just, talking to myself. Good to see you, Captain. We all want to think our own future is important. Making pasta mama.
Yeah, we're making pasta mama here tonight. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds: A Quality of Mercy. The finale has been released. It's out there. It's on the internet, and many of us have seen it now. And we're going to be breaking it down here on Live Long and Podcast, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch. Or you might be listening to us in the audio version. We got a great panel to break down this episode. We're going to talk about it, our reactions to it, our ratings at the end. We hope you'll stick with us. And we got a couple other guys who will be beaming in, midway through to lend some support to this mission. So I'm Dave Mader. Thanks for joining us here tonight. We got Adam Woodward with us. How you doing tonight, Adam?
I'm good. How long was that episode, Dave?
It's like a full hour. It's like a full 60 minutes, I think. Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah, I thought so. We got Chris Murphy with us tonight. How you doing tonight, Chris?
Good, guys. It was a solid power hour of Star Trek, and I'm really looking forward to talking about it.
Indeed. A power hour. We expect Jody, Simpson, and Davan Skelhorn to be along eventually. On that note, guys, Adam, did you like this finale?
I did. I thought it was extremely strong. I'm disappointed now that we have to wait. Because this is the worst part of Star Trek now is waiting for the next season. But no, it was a great episode. Didn't see any of it coming. The way it broke down, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. Chris, what was your? Did you enjoy it? And if so, what was your favorite part of it?
Oh, I mean, the opening was amazing. It was such a solid, like, okay, what the fuck is going on right now? Are we seriously okay? All right, we're getting some time travel. Oh, and he's giving some, like, it was just such a nice divergence towards anything I had expected the last episode to be, because there was a lot of things they had set up in previous episodes that I thought they were going to allude to in this one. And it was nothing what I expected, and I was so overjoyed with every moment of it. I think it's going to sound weird, but I think one of my favorite things about the episode was the excessive amount of use of Shatner lighting on everyone's face in practically every scene. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but like, especially with all the intense moments between the Romulans, you'd get that sort of like Venetian blind effect of just like the eye light bar. And it was like very prominent on like Pike, on like anyone on Control, on Uhura, on the Romulans, on the Romulan Queen. It was like every single person was just like, boom, Shatner light, Shatner light, Shatner light. And I was just like, oh my God, this is beautiful. It's gorgeous. I'm enjoying this. And just,
and full spoilers here about this episode, of course, if that wasn't fully disclosed here, because a lot to unpack here. We got two Kirks. We got, or not two Kirks. Well, yeah, we do have two Kirks because we have the Kirk brothers actually. But we have like the new James Kirk. We got a time travel. We got two Pikes. We got Spock kind of dying in one timeline here. That was kind of traumatic. There was a lot to feel about this episode. A lot that was set up, I think, too, Chris. Like in terms of like the here at the end with the cliffhanger with number one, where she's taken away and sent to prison, and he went to the future and said, Spock's like, yeah, she's been in prison for like 7 years.
Who snitched? Who snitched? I gotta know who snitched. It's gonna be season 2 juice right there, man. Like,
yeah,
how did they find out?
The ending zoom into his face was fantastic too.
Yeah, but back to your point about like the balance of terror was definitely kind of relived here in this episode. Adam, when we did that on the original series rewatch some time ago, I think you were on that podcast. At
2
that
years
time.
ago, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and 2 years ago when we were first podcasting together, and we went through all the original series episodes, and the Balance of Terror, was a favorite amongst the panel. It was, it's one of Jody's in particular's favorite all-time episodes. So I'm interested to hear what he thinks about this. And definitely, yeah, like there's like the bar across the eyes with Kirk, as Chris was alluding to. There was like the whole like zoom in on Spock once it's like the Romulans are revealed to look like Vulcans. Right,
no lie. When I saw that,
No.
The moment he's just like, first words that went through my mind. Do you smell what the Spock is cooking?
But what was funny too about that scene is like, the helm looked at Kirk or at Pike. Pike looks at it was just around that whole scene, and then you got to Spock to raise his eyebrows. So that was a funny scene.
Jody Simpson joining us.
Oh my goodness!
Blowing out his microphone like a game.
Oh, sorry, I was
all good. Jody,
partaking.
Jody, we were saying Balance of Terror. I remember you being one of your favorite episodes that we covered on Original Series Rewatch 2 years ago.
Very good episode. Yeah.
So, and this episode definitely being not just a homage to it, but like kind of a reliving of it.
It's almost like a reenactment of it. Yeah.
Almost like a retconning of it, if you will, in some aspects, especially with the Romulan design, I think in particular, and the ship design and the uniforms.
I'm so glad that they portrayed the Romulan ships like that, though.
Yeah, like more updated, not looking like the 60s style. Because given them because they had done that already with the Federation. Anyway, so your feelings about this episode, especially maybe with the Balance of Terror aspects of it woven in.
I think it's a good episode. It definitely drags in parts though. Like it goes pretty slow in some scenarios, like in some parts of it. But I think overall, I think it's a pretty good episode.
Give me three scenarios where you felt it dragged. I gotta know, because that episode didn't drag a minute for me.
The whole conversation with him and himself in the thing went way longer than it needed to.
The opening scene?
Or the end?
Basically when he's talking to him in the...
I'm just talking to myself.
And then the last
I did like that bit.
Yeah. The last scene I thought was a little meh.
Okay.
And the Spock bridge scene where Spock's like giving him kind of like... Spock's like pissed off, but he's not pissed off.
Okay, we'll I want to catch that maybe on the screenshots, but okay. Like there was definitely some moments in this that I thought were good. I think that there was a lot of dialogue heavy scenes. The episode's a lot of action, but it's also just a lot of people like talking across a table from one another. A lot of character interactions, which if you like that kind of thing, then this is great. But if that's what
if you like DS9, you love this episode.
If you like the original series, this definitely feels like original series, but modernized. They were definitely kind of going for that vibe too. Yeah, because they were trying to like bridge that, because it's not Nichelle Nichols as Uhura, it's the new one. I can't remember her name.
The new one.
You notice that Pike calls everybody by their first names on the bridge,
and he likes to be called by his first name too.
But he's got that lack of formality, on the bridge with his bridge crew.
Celia Rose Gooding.
Celia Rose Gooding. Sorry, I should know the cast names by now, but after all these podcasts, but like it's but wearing that new thing. So if you will, guys, we can jump into the shots, react to the different things we saw in this episode and how the different scenes played out, and recap the episode. So we start here with a captain's log from Pike that starts in the Romulan neutral zone. We get these really amazing shot on this asteroid, I guess.
This is cool.
I enjoyed this shot so much because of the orientation of everything. For years, we always get like the face-to-face, everything's perfectly even. We start with what we think's up, and then they just completely flip it. And if you look carefully at both the Star Trek ships in that photo, one's like this kind of, and the other one's like sort of on its side a little bit. So like the orientations are all over the place. And that's
they do that a couple of times in this episode as well, which I kind of liked as well.
Yeah, particularly when Kirk's ship was being blown up.
Yeah.
Right. And so
that was such a beautiful
two ships here to start the episode off, right? There's the the ship that the other captain, his girlfriend there is commanding. Davan Skelhorn joining us from Locutor's Trek. How are you doing, Davan?
Oh, good. Good. Very much enjoyed this episode.
We're just jumping into the screenshots. And so, yeah, like we're talking about how like one ship's upside down or perpendicular from the other here in the opening scene. And then we get olive oil in a pan. We got some noodles. We got an egg. We got some Parmesan. I don't know if you guys know, but this is what we call making pasta mama.
Making pasta mama.
Yeah. In comes Captain Battelle, right? This is Captain Battelle. She comes in and she's having pasta mama here with Captain Pike. What's the whole recipe on that, Pike?
Making pasta mama. Just add eggs, Parmesan, lightly saute, and it transforms from leftovers to something new.
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds not that appealing. Like, out of all the meals he's made throughout the season, which have sounded delicious and just edible, this is just like, really, we're getting microwave leftovers from the great chef Captain Pike. Like,
he was so proud of this recipe.
He was so proud of it. It was so like
making pasta mama.
Maybe it's really good. I don't know.
You know, every time they go and show him cooking and show his quarters, I'm thinking this is good. He's got it made on the Enterprise. He's got everything in his quarters.
He can make the most of these 10 years he's left. Or does he? As we'll find out here. Okay, so Captain Battelle's back. We haven't seen her since the first episode of the season. She's the captain of the name of the other ship that they're starting off this mission with. I'm trying to the Cayuga. I think it's the USS Cayuga. They mentioned here. Interestingly enough, and so they have a on again, off again relationship. I guess when they're at the same port, they hook up, make pasta mama together, and
probably other things together.
Yep. She mentions that she misses his beard and that he wasn't opening up to her about all of his him knowing about his fate and everything else. So that's been kind of bookending the season here because he was making breakfast for her back in the first episode before he was kind of called back into Starfleet by Admiral what's his little guy, Robert April. Yeah. So what do you guys think of Captain Battelle back? Anybody excited? She kind of comes back here at the end and becomes like turns on and she rests number one.
Not?
So why not?
I mean, I wasn't against it. It was just sort of like, it was just like, oh, old flame connection. We're bookending this season the way we started it, which
that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
oh my god, I finally figured out who Captain Battelle is.
Like the actor?
Yeah, she's in Letterkenny. I was like, where the hell do I know her from?
No, that is not
Mrs. McMurray.
That is not Mrs. McMurray. Is that Mrs. McMurray?
It totally is.
Oh no way! How did I miss this? What the fuck?
Me too. I was like,
you
and that's what I've been doing.
serious?
Like,
This is a big moment here, guys. Like, I don't watch
Like,
Letterkenny,
this is-
so this is not as significant
out.
for I.
Oh,
How you know?
Oh, you were missing out.
huh?
What?
How you know?
Really?
How you now?
Wow.
How you
How
know?
are you now? Not so bad in yourself.
Good, and you?
Story.
Anyway,
All right, we're gonna move on from Captain Patel. Anyway, so she
give your
takes
balls
off.
a tug.
He's left to have his pasta mama by himself here. He gives this
Adam's
look-
like, why am I on this podcast?
no, it's all good.
Adam, what do you think of this look he gives the camera right here before the next cut? He's eating his pasta mama.
He's having fun. He's got his girl. He's got a meal.
Yeah,
He's probably got some other
Pike's
stuff.
Peak is in full erection right now.
yeah. He gets a call here, and
That
we're
hair,
on the.
man.
I love this map here. We get of the Romulan neutral zone. I love that they kept with the continuity of like no one's seen a Romulan really ever, and that they're the boogeymen, as he describes to Captain Battelle. Where's the Romulans?
The Romulans are the boogeymen. No one's ever seen one. Nobody even knows what they look like, and yet they get blamed for a lot of things around here.
Yeah, interestingly enough, so they're out here on the neutral zone. We get this map. We've got quite a few
Even angels
maps.
there.
Yeah, you can see a bunch of different things here.
Up at the
Tau
top
Ceti,
Angel 1.
Memory
Gotta go
Alpha
there.
is in Starbase 25. We got
Wolf 359's there.
Wolf 359 is there. Starbase 1, Andoria, Vulcan, Denoblia, Teller.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Yeah. So
They're very good at the attention to detail on this show.
Yeah. Also here, okay, I love my uniforms and what's going on with the uniforms, guys. And we got a lot of uniform. This will be a uniform-heavy discussion here tonight. This commander of this neutral zone base, like he later gets blown up in the future, in the I guess, which is the Balance of Terror. If it's the same character, I think it is. His emblem here on his shirt is not the typical Starfleet or like the Enterprise emblem. It's the one that goes sideways, guys. It's like it's a different look here. You can see that it is the Starfleet thing, but it's kind of sideways and it's got a different thing to it. So
does that mean he's on a base rather than a?
Yeah, it's like his assignment patch is different almost.
Yeah, I
right.
think so.
But they made it still look like have a connection to Starfleet, because back in the original series, each ship had its own like symbol, and that was just the one we know is now is like the Starfleet icon was just the one that the Enterprise had. But then that people just wanted that just to be the Starfleet symbol, and that's kind of what it became from the motion picture on. And they've pretty much kept with that here, even in the post-Discovery era. But this is like one of the first deviations from that I've seen. This guy's a commander, and then his son shows up here, guys, and he turns out to be one of the cadets that will be part of the accident to come for Pike, right? But he's one of the ones who's going to die. He's not the one. Two of them are going to die, and he's one of them. He's the base's commander.
Spoiler alert.
Kind of spoiler alert to the thing here.
I really liked this episode so much.
It's great.
Just the journey that they took him on from this moment,
he
revisiting Balance of Terror. How awesome is that?
It was kind of like a whole reenactment of Balance of Terror, like a new version here. He gets spooked by this whole conversation here, and he kind of runs out of the room quite quickly. I love how this shot starts off blurry, and he kind of comes into focus.
You know what was great about this scene is that he's been such in control this whole season, and he looked like he was having a panic attack. He looked like he was under serious anxiety. First time we've ever seen that.
He was really shaken by this, because I guess he's like, I know that kid's gonna die, and it's not just about my life anymore, but it's still kind of about his life too. But it's also like, I can save this kid. I have the ability. I know his fate, and I can change his future. And I should do something, but I shouldn't do something. He's struggling with this, as he has been for the whole season. And so, number one's trying to talk to him about it again, and he's never really wanted to open up too much with her overall. And so, it's he kind of goes into his quarters here, starts looking at the kids' names and of all the cadets, knowing that he pulls up the file of the kid he just saw up in the ready room, and this is what kind of leads him to decide to start dictating this letter here. I hope I know you want to join Starfleet, and I encourage you to go after that. But yada yada, right? Like, this is the starting. He's going to try to change his fate, and these kids' fates in particular.
I love how the interface of the instruments are all square. I love that.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Because it shows the bridge, the gap between Enterprise and this time, right? It's more modernized, but it's still very utility. It's very rows and columns. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it was
where
cool.
the cars is all over the fucking place. It's everywhere.
I always love the design of all the aesthetic of all this, of the Star Trek stuff.
They've done such a good job on this show when it comes to that stuff. The sets look great. Everything about it.
Even his quarters here, in this particular lighting, looks so different than it did in the breakfast scene.
Yeah,
yeah,
really
and it's literally the exact same place,
same set.
It's just,
but
the cinematographer was on point this episode. The
director,
man,
they were on. And then he's starting. He's like he does the turn here.
I like this fade in thing too that they did, which was really neat when he ends up in the other time, right? All of a sudden it kind of fades,
Yeah. Well, I have the shots of that too.
Oh, do you?
And
Great.
guys, now uniform. I probably lost it when I saw this, right? Because
I have to admit this was good. They did a great job.
Yeah, I was
Wrath
pretty stoked when I saw this reveal.
Yeah,
Wrath
once
of
I saw his
Khan
ass, I'm
era
like, oh,
uniform. It's older Pike, but forget about him being an old Pike. It's about the uniforms, guys, and it's about
He
That's
looks
the
good in
turtleneck.
that uniform.
Yeah, it's
And
pretty.
he looks good. He wears it
It look-
well.
It's pretty faithful to the Wrath of Khan, like the most of the original series movies, except for one, going with this uniform style. There's a little bit of like the modernized, like that Starfleet shouldering kind of that's on the Strange New Worlds uniform kind of built into it. So there is some modification.
Apparently, if you look at the detail of that shouldering, like it's just a bunch of like Starfleet insignias, just sort of like fish scaled.
Yeah.
It's such a incredible detail that's gonna piss off a lot of cosplayers.
It's all on his too. Like, just like all this, you got to get that like specifically done in. You can't just get a yellow shirt if you want to like have that look, right? So, so that's the opening thing. There's a new him, and he's from the future. What's to come here? Okay, this episode written by Henry Alonso Myers and Akiva Goldsman. The Akiva Goldsman, one of the co-creators of the show. Chris Fisher, the director. And we start here. You can see also that fish scaling kind of like Starfleet symbols built in are kind of also on the cuffs of this uniform. He's checking out young Pike's knives here. Oh, we even get a shot here of like all the pips and squeaks on his epaulette here, and also with the rear admiral pin. Actually,
You need to go have a shower, Dave.
No, man, this is the detail. They got the detail in here. Pike's. I love seeing these two uniform styles on screen together. I don't know.
So you like the uniforms then, eh, Dave?
Yeah, man. Like here, we get another shot of him. He's got the red stripe down the side. Got the full belt.
Letterman geek out. Letterman geek out.
You better work, cover girl. Work it. This is a fashion show for Dave.
Come on, look at that, guys. It looks great.
It's gorgeous.
It looks so good though. Like it's spot on. He looks
Chris is
sharp
with
in
me.
that suit. He pulls it off well. I was stoked with this reveal. I also like how they're just like, oh, he's here. There's no crazy like Terminator lightning. There's no gust of wind. You just, what the fuck are you doing here? Like a ghost. Yeah. I was like, is this like? I was like, okay, he's got to be imagining this. Like this has got to be in his head or something. And I'm still in belief that it was in his head. He wasn't actually there. It was like,
I think it was in his head too.
You know what? I was just
from
thinking
the time crystal.
Just thinking about the best transitions of time or something like that. And I think yesterday's Enterprise was the best when, that transition on the bridge and
that was pretty neat.
Yeah, no, that episode coincidentally had the two uniform styles coming together as well.
Yep.
I love here.
Who the hell are you?
Thought that would have been obvious. I'm you.
I'm you, of course, obviously, with a Wrath of Khan era uniform. As you can see,
wouldn't it be awesome if he said his name was Riker? I'm Thomas Riker.
All right,
I'm just kidding. You won't get that until later.
I'm Thomas Piker.
He looks more like Riker's father.
He does. What do you guys think of the makeup job here to make him look older? You guys?
They did a good job. They
put a little white in the hair. About all they did.
He still got the hair though.
Yeah, he's got.
I hate him because he's aging way better than me.
So he's from roughly 20 years, maybe in the future, maybe a little more. He didn't quite say exactly, I don't think. Here's a cross from each other shot.
Two Pike's Peaks.
And he's like, basically, you can't stop. You can't change this. You will change the future, but it's not a good idea here. It's good. There's going to be ripples in time as a result of this. He goes and gets the time crystal from the Klingon monks and everything. And he's like, you need to see the future, basically, and that there's more to this than you think, if I'm remembering correctly. Guys, for those of you who didn't see Star Trek Discovery Season 2, this is a Klingon time crystal. And it lets you do all kinds of tomfoolery with
timey-wimey things.
Timey-wimey things. Kind of whatever you want it to, really. You can go forward or back or see the different things, but there's always consequences. Do you guys think this was a good device for the episode?
Did they ever
As
actually?
long as we
emphasize-
never see it again.
Yeah, it made it easy. A little
Yeah.
easy.
I got a
Too
time.
MacGuffin-y.
Yeah,
I would have appreciated more if he
That's
brought
enough.
a Klingon with him.
yeah. If he had just a quick,
Klingon
they should have
monk.
brought the albino.
I think
kid,
it would have been way better if he explained that he slingshotted
Kevin
around the
did.
sun again.
Yeah.
Like that would have been cool.
Yeah. So he
Oh,
goes
well,
on.
we know how to do the time travel thing. Kirk figured it out.
He touches. All you have to do is touch it, and you go. And here's that effect that Jody was talking about earlier, where it
Very
kind of-
cool. I
it
like
shakes
this.
here.
I was told the same thing about LSD. All you have to do is touch it, and you get the same effects.
Well, there you go. Here,
With your
Pike,
tongue.
Pike is basically dropped right into the middle of Balance of Terror. He's even marrying the same two young officers as Kirk did in the original episode. However, in this version, she dies and he lives instead of him dying.
Yeah.
But then time's reset anyway. Guys, we see a
we
bit
got
of,
we got you. You both want to get married?
he didn't quite
On
know
the
what
ship?
he was a little bit disoriented. But guys, uniform talk. There's more uniform because
Oh,
we're
boy.
getting a fast forward here to the original series era. We're now 7 years in the future, and we can now see that everybody, whether you're in a red shirt or a blue shirt or a gold shirt, your rank epaulets are now gold, not the same color as your shirt. As I told you guys all, it should be, and they listened to me, and that's a win for me. Second,
Look at the different shades of blue, though, Dave. The different shades of blue. Tell me you're not distracted by that.
So we have a comment here from a viewer. This is from Thomas Hill. Good evening, gentlemen. Hello, I guess.
Hello,
I can
Thomas.
say that. All right.
How's
I'd
it
like
going?
to say that I just finished your 9 reviews of Strange New Worlds, and I have a good group of friends that's nice to sharing the joy of Star Trek with. I agree.
Agreed.
Thank you, Tom.
Except for when Dave talks about uniforms.
uniforms.
I like
Listen,
that.
Happy.
Morning.
Whoops.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a long
Guys,
episode.
get it.
Also, the
Review.
nurses are wearing. Thank you, Thomas, for your comment. The nurses are wearing kind of like the jumpsuits. We got the doctor wearing a closer to a McCoy era looking kind of shirt there in the background. Although McCoy is not in this episode, he's not on the Enterprise in this timeline. Interestingly enough. Anyway, so Pike's he's disorientated this whole scene. He doesn't know where he's like. I guess you want to marry you, and I'm on a ship somewhere. He doesn't even know what's going on, what year it is.
Well, this
but there-
isn't his memory, so like he
no.
doesn't
This
know
is a
what the hell's
flash
going on
forward
at all.
a
Yeah, because
flash
Kirk
forward.
was in this position. It wasn't him.
Where he does change the fate of those kids, but also he stays as captain of the Enterprise. So I guess the accident with the kids was completely avoided. Nobody was hurt at all, and everything should be fine. But was it? Pike heads up to the bridge here, and it was called up by his number 1, Commander Spock. Now wearing gold epaulets as the commander, even refers to himself as number 1, which he never really did in the original series. We got Uhura here now as lieutenant, guys, wearing the big, huge neck thing opening like the original series dress with the modernized thing. More uniform talk.
Big high collar on that uniform. I was
Big
enjoying
high
it.
collar. We're getting lots of Uhura. Uhura has a lot to do in this episode. Telling
Another great thing about this scene, though, is again Pike's uncertainty. He doesn't ever look like this in this season at all. He's just walking around. He's trying to figure things out. He's doing a good job, but he's clearly off guard. He doesn't know what's going on.
no, he's trying to get his bearings here, but he's kind of going with the flow. He knows he's on a time crystal journey. He's been on one of these before, and he's going around here. I was noticing like he's looking for. He's like, Ortega's is still here. I forget her name. But she's still here. But I was thinking, like, where's Sulu? Where's the other guy that was in the original Balance of Terror? That the guy that take your prejudice out of here and all that. He wasn't here. So this is a very different crew. Although Spock is the first officer in this scenario, we got Pike. We got a hail coming in from the base. The same base that he was just equipping with the new technology. So we're seeing that same commander from earlier come up
I
here.
love that shot with Spike looking through the visor and like the lighting on his face.
Yeah, it
Just,
looks
like,
great.
you see, like, did they do stuff like this back in the original Star Trek, or was he more like closer to the thing? Because I
He
don't
was
remember.
on it. He was like on it.
He was always
He was
very much
literally
closer.
on it. You would see
Yeah.
the like blue light shining on his face. That's about it.
He's
Yeah,
a virtual boy.
yeah, and
He must get constant headaches.
I like that,
So-
but he calls Spock in. He kind of tells Spock that he's been sent here from Seven, because only Spock would really understand everything with the time crystals, and Spock knows about his like fate of like to be dying with the cadet or to get disfigured with the cadets and at the in the accident. So Spock's one of the few people he can kind of open up to this completely, because number one is not here, Una's not here, and they have this kind of conversation about what this could be a worst case scenario. Spock's like says we need to like let this play out and see where this goes. But this according to your future self, this is going to be a worse scenario than what would have been, right? So we have to kind of figure out why. That's all we can do. So Pike gets Spock to perform a mind meld on him here. Spock, they go into. And we see the accident. We see glimpses of the accident, his disfigurement here.
It's real melty in that picture.
Yeah, he's looking. That was a rough day he had in the engine room. He comes out of it, and you guys remember what Spock's reaction here was? Like what he.
You carry the weight of a terrible or terrifying future, I believe he said.
Something like that, yeah.
Right. And he's like, yes. So they're gonna see how this plays out. You were like, Jody, to your point about this episode being long, like I cut a lot of images out, but it's a lot of just these guys going back and forth talking a lot.
There's just a lot of conversation, which I guess some of it is required. I just felt most of the interactions between Spock and Pike were they were either too long or they weren't needed. Like they were very.
I would disagree with that statement, because if I feel like he needed some of that setup and connection for the later on reveal where he's like, oh, I think I might have to give you gratitude for I don't know what exactly, because if he didn't have these scenarios where he breaks it down with Spock and he's like, I think I'm from the past, man. I don't know. I'm freaking out a little. If he didn't have this to sort of like connect with him a bit on this journey, when the ultimate thing that happens to him,
it's all very logical. It feels like original series, and sometimes original series could feel like very, very talky, right? Like very.
But did we have this connection established in this season at all? Like I figured
with Spock and Pike, yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I think that Una and him had it.
Yeah,
Davan,
I don't think Spock and him had any.
And it seems like they were doing some catch up here to make it, to make the end.
To make me believe that this is something they normally do. Yeah,
I think they showed the relationship between him and Spock more in the earlier episodes when we didn't really see a lot of Una, and since then maybe it's been a bit more. I buy the relationship between them. I think we've seen enough of it, and there was the one where they were down on that mission together and stuff. They've had some bonding time.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, guys, the next scene here was the Enterprise getting to this where the Romulans are attacking, just like back in Balance of Terror. It plays out very much the same, but obviously we get the new version of the Enterprise here, like the updated post-Discovery era. We get everything here with can we fire? We're not in range yet. We're getting the hail to come in from the base. At first, it's on audio only, just like in the original episode, and then it comes into play here. It's the commander, the same commander as before. Anyway, he comes up on screen. It's like on fire, so we got kind of a new version of all that. We see it cutting over to where the base was. Everything's on fire. He's not looking good.
Yeah, he's like I said, looking a little dusty.
He's looking like he's having a bad day too. Pike's like, hold on, we're coming. And then the Romulans guys, they decloak right here on screen. I really liked this version of seeing that bird of prey with the green glows. Like that was not as much in the original episode as in this one. We see like their weapons. Yeah, it's a nice look here. It's pretty.
From what I could tell, like it's for the most part like spot on with the old design. They just added a bit more color and effect to it. Maybe
there doesn't seem to be that. There doesn't seem to be that orange bird on the bottom of it.
We didn't really see.
I still don't understood that.
I like the orange bird. I got the little.
There you go, orange bird
here. Yeah, this is the same ship actually, but I'd say that there's more texture to this version. This looks a little bit like the one we saw in Picard, which was the same model.
It doesn't look like a model.
Well,
It looks good.
it's not. We see the weapon get fired here. These plasma balls they fired were terrifying.
Mine also has an
Is there
old
a
bird.
special name for these things? Because I assumed it was just some sort of like plasma torpedo or something.
It's a plasma torpedo,
cannon.
I think.
It's plasma
Yeah.
cannon.
Plasma
Yeah.
cannon. This is the same weapon from that episode. So it's a lot of the same events. Like they're kind of following along. Even like the bright flash and them having to block their eyes out. And then we see the cloaking device update here was really cool. It's sort of that green shimmer to it.
Yeah, and it just kind of takes it over.
Yeah,
It's got
and
this kind
goes
of
out here, and they're like, "Dang,
Good particles.
yeah, we need to do something."
That's
Oh,
one
and then-
thing I didn't like about this episode. Ortega.
Guys, Ortega's just kind of playing the same role as in
Ortega
the
is
original.
just annoying in this episode.
I'm
It's
disappointed.
usually a lot of fun.
A full mohawk. It's been 7 years. I feel like her hairline should just kept going up into a full, straight-on 70s style punk mohawk. Maybe
I
it
wonder
would've-
if we're ever gonna find out her racism towards Romulans. She was a hard liner against Romulans. You can't trust a Romulan.
In the original episode, there's a Lieutenant Styles. In the original episode, there's Lieutenant Styles who kind of is like doing a lot of the things Ortega's is having to take on in this episode. I was like, you could have just taken Ortega's out of this episode and put Lieutenant Styles into this episode, just like in the original, if you wanted to say that same beat. But I guess Pike wouldn't hire a Styles.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Ortega's went a different way when Pike left the Enterprise in the other timeline. So
She's one of my favorite characters in the show. And
Until this episode.
This episode sucks for her.
Yeah, I totally agree. She was.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was put on too much.
Yeah, it was a little bit
did
much because they were trying to stay faithful to the original episode, and I think but to a detriment of a main character, which is kind of counterintuitive here. Anyway, so what else? Okay, guys, we got the new
Paul Wesley.
we got Paul Wesley as the new version of Kirk. Where
It was a young Jim Carrey.
Enterprise, this is Captain James T. Kirk of the USS Farragut, offering
He
assistance.
sounds like Jim Carrey too.
A little bit. You guys mentioned that. We can't get that out of my head now.
Sorry,
Yeah,
but
no matter. Go ahead.
it was like that Saturday Night Live skit where he was, or whatever, in Living Color when he was back on when he did the James T. Kirk.
Yes.
So you're not a fan of this performance, Adam?
No,
I'm not.
No.
It took a little bit to warm on me. I'm not gonna lie.
I like
it
not
wasn't.
Kirk.
To me, everything else is great, but this was not Kirk.
He had no
Who was it?
mannerisms of Kirk. He didn't have any sort of sense of humor like Kirk does. Like I don't know. It just.
Well, he's.
I think the
didn't-
most
it confused me.
Kirk-like thing he did was when he went and got the decoy ships. That was the most
Yes.
Kirk-like moment for me in the whole
Yeah.
episode.
That was believable.
Yeah.
But like him being a total douche, like the whole point of Kirk and Kirk, is the guy, and they even mentioned it in the episode. Like he's all about charm, like he's all about
Breaking the rules.
trying to get his way and break the rules a bit. And I didn't get that impression from this guy. I just got the impression of like he's just another guy in this timeline and not really of
hot
any
shack
importance.
captain.
He's just
the whole
just some captain that's here.
The whole episode is.
You
about
couldn't name
him
this
being
anybody
that
else.
character though. Like,
What's that?
This whole episode is about establishing that is who Kirk is, though, because had they listened to Kirk, you would have had the original balance of terror, because he, does go against the grain. Pike did what like all the other captains would have done, which is probably hesitate.
So if
Kirk's
I
like,
change
"Nah."
this guy,
Yeah,
if I change this guy's name to anybody other than Kirk, would it still
Yeah.
work? Absolutely, and that's the problem.
yes, but
Because
it doesn't work to
You're
establish
introducing
something
a
about
major
known
character. Yeah, but you're introducing a major character. This is not the way to do it. Not the way that this guy's portraying him anyway.
I feel like.
Well, remember,
he's
this
the-
is in the
he's-
future.
He's also the junior captain between the two of them, right?
We've seen the future. We've seen future Kirk as well, and we know that he doesn't act this way.
Well, okay.
I mean, they also even at the end they even showed like his I guess you could say, record, because he was like looking it up when he got back to the present moment, and he was just like looking at Kirk, and he had like a slightly shorter, spikier haircut that looked more akin to Chris Pine in the first movie.
That's the thing
He's
that
a
bothered
lieutenant. So we'll meet him as a lieutenant next season. That's what they were doing. They're setting up character traits for a
7
character,
years, right?
and then rewinding it. So it's like, you know who this character could become, but then will he?
But he won't
as
be
we
that. I
call
think the
his
next
journey.
time we see him is probably he's also going to be the.
I really hope not.
You can't help but not to go with like the William Shatner comparisons, because that's who he's supposed to be, but he's also not. He's also just this new version of Kirk, just like how Ethan Peck is this new version of Spock, but it's the same timeline, so it's the same.
But he gets a lot of the same. But Ethan Peck, he does a pretty good job on getting a lot of the same mannerisms.
He really did. And, that's why I always like Chris Pine as Kirk.
Chris Pine does a great job of Kirk, actually. Like,
he
if
did
you're gonna
one
get an
scene where
impersonation
he
of Kirk.
did Kirk. One scene, and that's it.
The whole movie.
The whole
the very last scene of the first movie, he did the Kirk thing, but other than that, I didn't.
Davan, man, no, that's just wrong.
He just goes, he like bites an apple, and he just goes bones, and like that was the only time he sounded like Kirk.
I totally disagree with you.
I think Chris Pine plays like what people think Kirk is who haven't watched the original series, like all the stereotypes.
He plays like an Indiana Jones version of Kirk.
He plays like they make up the ladies' man thing.
Honestly, my take on this, that this was kind of closer to the more serious officer, especially in Balance of Terror, that William Shatner played in that episode in particular.
Kirk plays a serious guy most of the time. Like,
most of the time,
95% of the time, he's super serious.
Most of the time in the original series, he's not like this crazy maverick like he's sort of remembered as. He's most of the time a career guy who just kind of goes by the book for the most part, with rare exceptions. And so I don't know, and usually Spock's the one kind of pulling him the other way, and McCoy's
that's why I like this Kirk. He plays who William Shatner played in the original series, not like this like pop culture idea of Kirk that Pine plays.
Right.
Yeah, the pop culture zeitgeist of Kirk is basically a womanizing man with a speech impediment.
Yeah, exactly.
Then a small boy,
and
a
way
very
more
naughty
Han
one.
way more like I'll just do whatever, and
I'm with you, Adam.
But listen, guys, they portrayed him. They said they bring his brother in, and his brother described him as what you're describing as the caricature of Kirk.
Yeah, he does.
So this is what disappointed me, is that here you got Sam Kirk here telling us that he is what we believe he is, like, which Chris Pine, I guess, is what you're saying. But he never was that guy. You know?
But he shows twice in this episode that he is, but in a more serious, less like jokey way. Like because he would go against what Pike thinks just to take this Romulan out, like don't screw around, and also gets the.
What do you guys think? What was your take on this conversation between Sam and Pike about Kirk?
A bit forced, a bit fluffy.
Yeah,
I thought.
Yeah, a little forced. Like, can we trust him? It's like, well, I mean, he's a bit of a hothead, but we can trust him.
He's a captain of Starfleet.
Yeah,
he's my brother too. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
He's not Captain Maxwell.
I think we can trust him more than the Romulans. How about that in this situation? So. So they had this conversation here, but like Spock had already talked about how, well, in another timeline, maybe somebody else is captain of the Enterprise during this mission, and this is going to lead to what the other thing is. So they're kind of already set up this idea, like if Kirk had been in command of this mission instead of Pike, then Kirk would have prevented the war with the Romulans. That's kind of the whole point of the episode, right?
Yeah, I like that.
And even though they're both good captains, they're different and they have different approaches, and they were good at defusing different bombs, I guess, or situations, whatever, when it calls for it. And
this episode also kind of like plants the seed that in Pike's mind as well, that Kirk and Spock are more important to the future than he is.
Right. Yeah. That's also, well, even the older version of Pike will tell him that at the end. He's like, he's way important. He's like super important, galaxy saving important. You know, you're important. You like to think you're super important, but you're not like Spock important. So
you're just a cog in the universe's wheel.
Yeah.
Spock's a gear shift.
Yeah. Well, Spock will bring about like Romulan Vulcan reunification eventually. Like there are some serious things that he does do, compared to a huge war that never took place in the original timeline. Here they're figuring out just like in the original Balance of Terror, how to hack the view screen, I guess, of the Romulans, and we get the reveal here of the Romulans look like Vulcans, and
bigger foreheads.
Sometimes with bigger foreheads if they're Northerners.
Well, forced hairlines, I guess, is probably
and Ortega's does like Lieutenant Styles thing here, and then we get like everyone's looking at Spock, and then boom. Right,
the Spock's eyebrow.
The similarities between Vulcans and Romulans came as a surprise to me.
Yeah,
but why? Like, wouldn't they have in their history that this happened? Like,
no, apparently not. Like, we just watched the Enterprise episode recently.
Yeah, don't they kind of, they're like, it's so veiled and it's been hidden and secretive throughout the years that they're just like,
they had a huge war.
Romulans?
Earth and Romulus had this huge war, which Pike tells us about in the captain's log, and then it's like, well, but we never seen one. We don't know them, and we see an Enterprise. They're gonna play this out in our Enterprise rewatch. I check that out every Monday night. That's they're gonna stay faithful to that, because Balance of Terror, I think, is just this beloved episode that they don't want to like retcon or mess with canonically too much, because they want it to be still make sense with everything else. So they're keeping with this. That Romulans have not let them be seen by anybody, Vulcan or human or anybody else, in over 100 years. Actually, more than that probably. But
again, let's never see it again. It's nice that they revisited a beloved episode and made it cooler in a way, and like. But let's just
gave it all
do that again.
And gave it a new life in a sense.
Just what we needed.
Season 3, Tribble's return.
Yeah,
a new show that takes 1 out of the 10 episodes it's allowed to do in a season and remake an episode that already happened.
Right. Exactly.
Just what we needed.
Just slightly different.
Just the ones cool.
Guys, here we have a shot.
No more
there's like a meeting that comes up next where the two crews are like they're trying to figure out how to like find the cloaked ship. They're going to go through this asteroid here, and they're like, it's going to reveal itself when it goes through like the path of it. Doesn't end up working out, but we see the Farragut a little bit in different shots here, how it's different than the Enterprise, how it has like the nacelles underneath. Davan, I know you're a ship guy. What do you think of the shot of the Farragut here?
I like the Farragut. I love the ship shots in this show, really, pretty much entirely.
They do a really good job.
Yeah,
I like when they're doing the battle and like the Farragut, it's like we need the Tiberius 4 Tiberius 8 maneuver, and he just starts like just doing basically a fucking barrel roll, Starhawk, do a barrel roll, and he starts going up and over, and the camera's just like
I was waiting for the Beastie Boys to show up, but it didn't show up.
Sabotage. No, this is a good show.
Everybody know it's a sabotage. Anyway, Kirk beams over. We get this brothers reunion that we never got on the original series because his brother was.
And the worst thing to happen in this episode.
A hug.
Probably the driest hug I've ever seen.
Look at Kyle there, looking at them like a jerk. Get over here, Kyle.
Kyle's an ass.
Everyone knows Kyle's an ass. Yeah, worst guy.
Kyle's an ass.
Still just a chief, not up to lieutenant yet.
So you remember the early movies where it took 20 minutes to show us the Enterprise and different angles and stuff. I would actually like some of that in this season.
Wasn't that Star Trek 1?
No, I think that the space
motion picture I think has the worst amount.
I think it was 20 minutes.
They need to slow down on the exterior shots a bit. It's a little too fast sometimes. I think they need to and also they need to pull back a bit and let us see a little bit more context in some of this. But anyway, we get this whole conference scene where Ortegas is mad at Spock about he's like, playing the Styles thing, but you're right. It doesn't really work for her character.
They made me hate a character that I loved.
And she's at this point, she's served with Spock for
betrayed forever. Jody can never like Ortega again.
Yeah. No, I can as long as they put her back to the way she was.
Yeah. Okay, here we got
Kirk. Again, that was alternate 7 years later Ortega. She could have been through a lot of breakups. There could have been a lot of shit that's jaded her heart. Maybe a Romulan, betrayed her at some point within those 7 years. And that's why she's exactly a Vulcan. So who knows, man? Let's just,
Did
we're back to the present.
Did you guys get the impression that Pike and La'an hooked up at some point in this future?
No, I didn't get that impression.
You didn't get that?
No.
When they hugged and stuff when she comes
Well, we're
back
gonna
on the
have to have a
ship,
look
and
at
they
that,
kept mentioning to him that that's La'an's ship.
The worst thing about this episode was I had to see her in it.
You thought you were getting a break, eh, Jody? You thought you were getting a break.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get one episode without her.
It's
I mean, to be fair, you got kind of a break. She was very.
Gorn. I'm surprised she didn't show up and just say it's the Gorn.
Just whoosh.
No,
It's the Gorn, Captain.
We see Dr. Mbenga is still the CMO. No McCoy on the Enterprise in this version either. And maybe he's on the Farragut. We never see him.
But who do we see?
We hear
off-screen Scotty.
We hear Scotty.
Off-screen Scotty.
Well,
we see his
assume it's
arm.
Scotty. Maybe
Oh,
it's
it's an arm.
Scotty's
That's
nephew
right.
that died in the first one.
It's a Scottish accent
second
of some
one, maybe.
form. We never say it by name.
Off-screen Scotty. He's an engineer, not a miracle worker.
It's him.
Maybe it's his cousin. We don't know.
We don't know. They never say anything about it.
Irishy.
Anyway, there's this whole debate here between the two captains in the scene, though, in the conference room, where Pike's like, we need to go for peace. And Kirk's like, we can't show weakness. Basically the same advice that Spock gives in the original version, where he's like, we can't show weakness. We have to go after these guys. If the Romulans think we're weak, they'll attack us. We have to show them that we'll stand our ground. And that's kind of the dichotomy here of the two captains that plays out, and Benga's like, I always want peace. Right. And I think Ortega's is on that particular issue a little bit more right. She's like, we should just go after these Romulans and get them.
Okay, I'm going to show how green I am right now. I've never actually sat down and watched like front to back the original Star Trek series, so I really don't have. I have no frame of mind for Balance of Terror and how it like originally played out. So could somebody give me a Cliff Notes?
The short of it is that they do take Kirk's advice. He's on the captain of the Enterprise, obviously, and he does shoot, and he disables the Romulan vessel. That's the big difference. So
that's the difference.
The vessel can't make it back to this big old fleet or anything like that.
And McCoy is.
Did they do that in this episode too?
Yeah, but McCoy's also a big part of that
same
episode.
way.
No, it's really crippled and on fire in the other one. Like everyone's dead except for
like he damn near kills them all. Like he just,
but everything, the Romulan fleet does not show up or any of that.
Like,
None of that happens.
you sneeze on them and they all die. Like
Probably because when Kirk did the original attack, he probably killed the traitorous second in command that eventually called 911.
No, that guy was in the Balance of Terror as well. The guy who was kind of was questioning
the first officer, and Mark Leonard, who played the original. I thought that they should have brought in Ben Cross, who plays Sarek, to play the Romulan commander as well, just because he was played by Mark Leonard in the original version, just for some connection there. But they didn't. They cast a new actor. Anyway, but like everything that plays out here with these scenes, guys, I lost my train. Oh yeah, McCoy was the big part of the original series because he's telling also Kirk in the original series, like, you gotta don't be reckless, but we got everything hangs in the balance here, and he's really helping Kirk go through the motions, because in this version Kirk acts like he knows everything, but he's really in the original version he's kind of torn. He's really feeling the sweat of this command decision that could lead to a catastrophic war and big consequences, which we kind of see what those are by the end of this episode. So I think McCoy not being present is also pretty significant for me. Anyway, so then they're like, we got to go after them. We're going to get them here at the Comet's tail. That's the whole plan. We're going to, the two ships will come after them here, and we'll get them. So this starts to play out. We see that I love this shot here, just with like they're going through the comet, but it kind of goes a little bit too long. Nothing initially happens here. It's taking too long to find the Romulan ship, and then all of a sudden it comes up behind them and attacks the Farragut here, and we have this space battle. And like I was saying, like I like that they do a space battle here, but like I feel like this could have been done better. I feel like it's just too.
It was too quick.
It was very quick.
Shaky.
Yeah.
It's very quick. It's hard to follow.
It's not that it was shaky. It was too spinny. They were like,
around.
Really got to show that he's going upside down. It's like, you don't really need to flip the camera to emphasize that he's going upside down. Like, he's in a ship. He's not going to feel the sudden gravitational force pull.
There's no upside down in space.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gravity
Exactly.
plating.
There's no upside down in space. He would just be like chilling on the ship. Like maybe he would feel a little more like tug on his back, but he's not going to be like, oh, I'm upside down now. You know, like
No, because you still have gravity plating, so it doesn't. You have a little bit of inertia.
Hey, Dave, go back a couple shots, please. That shot. Isn't Jim Carrey?
Nice shots. Yeah, Jim Carrey.
I'm getting like his when Jim Carrey does his Jack Nicholson impression.
Yeah.
You know, or his like Clint Eastwood impression, maybe.
Yep.
if Paul Wellesley ever sees this, we're really sorry we're comparing you to Jim Carrey.
Why?
Like
That's
his
a
own
legend.
Jim Carrey.
Compare him to a legend.
Yeah. They managed to fire here on the Romulan ship from far away. Just use they kind of get lucky and they kind of graze it here. Comes at the Enterprise. Tries to fire.
Oh, there's the bird.
Yeah, the bird is on the
Oh,
bottom,
fuck,
guys.
it's there too. Oh, wow.
Nice.
Why?
Okay.
They have birds on Romulan? See, okay,
Romulan can have birds.
See, this is one thing that I'm going to give a credit to Discovery is they show a lot of fauna. They explore the fauna of like alien planets. You know, pretty much every Star Trek show, you get not much.
The original series, they did it.
Yeah.
Because they were always on Earth.
Yeah. almost every planet looked like Earth.
Well, yeah, not just plants, but I mean like animals. Like in Discovery, you know, there's like always like crazy spider creatures. You know, there's stories involving book.
That's
You know,
well,
they would put horns on dogs.
You know, I'm hoping that hopefully in more seasons to come they'll explore a bit more of like alien just life, I guess. And not in like the non-intelligent style. I think that would just.
You want to see alien life? Watch Enterprise. Lux will introduce you to all kinds.
Yeah, and he feeds his toenails to some of them. It's kind of gross. Anyway, so they get hit.
It's a great show.
With the weapon, but it does destroy them because it doesn't work.
Minefield's terrible.
Far away. Okay, here's when Lon shows up.
Worst scene in this show.
He calls her a lieutenant, even though she's clearly wearing command.
Look at that! Look at that! Look at that familiar! Look at that!
She's definitely got. Yeah, she's definitely got a hug.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel it doesn't seem like a boned hug. It's more like a you helped me find my humanity kind of hug.
Yeah.
Like she's super grateful.
I'm chill now.
I'm
not angry, and Jody's gonna like me now.
Jody's gonna love me now.
That's what that hug means. It's
which
almost like she's
they talk about.
What you didn't see though is her whispering into his ear.
It's the Gorn whispering in his ear.
It's the Gorn.
It's the Gorn.
It's the Gorn.
Yeah.
You know what would have been awesome if they showed us a Gorn that looked more like from the original series than this. That would have been cool.
Yeah, she's definitely lost her edge here, eh? She's
playing it softer.
down. Yeah,
not as much as the princess she played in episode 8, but she's definitely she's
worst episode of the show so far.
Yeah. She's not as Gorn obsessed. It seems maybe here. Maybe she
worse.
defeated all those Gorns. Anyway, she's a commander now. She's Kirk's first officer in this timeline. On the
is she? Okay.
Yeah. So that would have been cool if Kirk had brought her to the conference table. Like Spock was there. Why isn't she there?
Like that would have made things, especially with Khan, more awkward because like Khan's like niece or whatever she is like his first officer and like somebody who Khan's his mortal enemy, right? So there's kind of an interesting dichotomy, even though they don't really interact too much here, Kirk and Lon. Anyway, so he's like, hey, where's the Una? And she's like, well, Una's been gone.
That was Newt from the Aliens episode, right? Is that who Una was?
No. That's about Rebecca
kid.
Romaine. No, Rebecca
She
Romaine
wasn't really in the last one.
Una is number 1, but you barely see her in the show.
It's an and Rebecca Romaine, so she only comes in here and there.
I don't care if there's a fucking and or not. It's a first officer. She should be there more.
I agree with
Well, you know what? Actually, when they were hauling her off the end, I was like, is this alluding to the fact that they're getting a budget cut and they can't afford and Rebecca Romaine Stamos anymore? Or are they gonna just
They can afford Rebecca Romaine Stamos. Like, honestly, she's probably the weakest on this cast, I think, as far as
only because she hasn't been seen. They haven't written.
They only gave her one episode.
Even in her Illyrian episode, like she's coming off a bit
Anyway, let's talk about
Not
here.
super
With Kirk.
Are we talking
shows
about
up.
uniforms again?
He yells at Pike when he shows up here, and they go and they have a conversation in the quarters here. He's like, "You should have fired, or we could have both been destroyed." He's like, "Hey, your ship got wrecked. My ship's cool. I think I proved I have the better philosophy here." Kirk's not having any of it, guys. He's like, "Go to hell, Pike. You Boy Scout. I read that in your file. It's actually in your file. You know."
But noted about the fact that I'm on your ship. Well played.
Yeah. He even does like the hand movement things here that William Shatner would do at times, right? Like there's some interesting things about his performance as Kirk. Anyway, just lots of these two hacking it out, deciding what to do, going to see Spock here. So we got the Spock working with both captains. Only in this alternate timeline could this have happened. And Pike just says like, "Hey, hail the Romulans. Tell them," like, and he gives a kind of this long speech here about like, "Hey, maybe we should stop fighting each other. We've been going for 100 years," and doing like, Pike being Pike. And as we find out, like, Pike's doesn't have the wrong idea. It's just it was the wrong commander for this situation in this particular point in history, and what was needed on this particular day on the command of the Enterprise is kind of what this whole thing is about.
Hypothesis.
Yeah, that's kind of what this episode is postulating for sure, and saying flat out that that's the case. And then Hura says
The Romulans are calling.
and they do end up showing up here on screen eventually. There they are. So we meet the Romulan commander. We see the new version here of the bridge with the uniforms. It is cool looking. It's very cool looking Romulan design. It's not the original series look. It's a big update, I'd say, compared to what we had in that version.
I'm fine with that though.
Most people are fine with that. Just like we have everything's new and shinier in this version.
Yeah, but it's a lot like
so much Shatner lighting. Sorry.
I found it a lot like Next Gen.
This guy's name's Nero.
No.
Okay.
Did they never
Just checking.
No, he's just called Romulan Commander in Balance of Terror. He doesn't even have him.
Yeah, he doesn't have a name.
Yeah, I know.
And there's this whole conversation.
These scenes here are very Balance of Terror, though, like back and forth, where it would be Kirk
back and forth on the view screen.
Yeah,
I'm having this conversation. I did like the look of the Romulan view screen here. I thought that was very cool looking, and just the way
I like the fact that it's not like 305 by 6. Like it's not this long, narrow view screen. It's an actual right view.
Yeah, I like how it's
screen for something
triangular
like this.
too. Like I like how it's got a kind of, or I think that's you could call that a triangle.
You just can't properly communicate on the one that they actually have there because like it's literally like just a slit. It's just so
but again,
terrible for that profile.
Like the Romulan is just showing complete arrogance. I'm not doing anything wrong, and I love it. He's definitely. I thought he did a great job.
This guy does a good job.
The way he plays it and the way it's written is all really good. I really like the way he plays it out. We got the treacherous Romulan sub commander who he's not going to go along with these peace talks. He's here. We got to strike. We got to go after these guys now. They even give us a little bit of backstory with these two, or like, I served with your father, the Riemann campaigns or whatever. They throw a couple of lines in here, but basically they agree to a ceasefire, a truce here. Temporarily as a result of this. Did this happen in Balance of Terror? I don't remember that happening. I guess no. Kirk wouldn't have called a ceasefire.
No, because they're already fighting at that point.
Yeah, and Kirk's just like, who would have thought that this would work? He's kind of dumbfounded by this whole.
But Kirk was trying to find ways not to kill him in the other one, so it was similar. Like,
right. This version of Kirk, or like in this timeline where it's not his decision. He's more just advising Pike. It's not coming out.
He lost his ship.
Ortega's like loses it here on Pike. She's like, we gotta go after these Romulans. We can't do this. She's like the sub commander, and like Pike's like, get the hell out of here. You suck.
Oh, something Jody just reminded me of one of the best lines in this whole episode, where when Kirk comes in and he's just like, maybe you should just be a little more decisive and act, don't question yourself in the moment. He's just like, I'll remind you that we're you're telling me this on my ship after yours was just destroyed.
Yeah, I know.
That
That was in the quarters there. Yeah, that was a good. I like that they gave these guys sort of a chemistry that I think they were trying to model maybe off of Chris Pine and Bruce Greenwood in the original, like in those J.J. Abrams movies a little bit. Like the older, more experienced captain versus the younger, like hotshot guy. That you know, and juxtaposing that against like Spock, I think maybe in particular because Spock is a part of both of these captains' careers greatly, and how they kind of they relate to each other here, and how they're the same and how they're different, and what their individual strengths are. I think is kind of the whole point. Anyway, over here in the Romulans, they're kind of talking it out.
They must have terrible, terrible times with their eyes eventually.
It's very dark.
It's so dark, and all the displays are really bright, and oh man,
yeah,
just workplace fatigue would be terrible on this ship.
It's a very Romanesque empire, Romulan-esque, but like good performances here. I think that these scenes with the Romulans were, they didn't have to do them, but I think that they work pretty well.
I like how he's got a bit of a scruffy beard going on there too.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think they needed them to, do the thing they're doing with the copying of Balance of Terror, because there was a lot of Romulan ship in that.
It was in that episode. There is a lot of scenes on the ship, which was kind of unusual. Like we never got many like scenes on like the Klingon bridge or anything like that, right? So this was cool. Here we see like those like guards there. We got like, a new version of the helmets. Even like the blue accent here on their like drapery here. I really liked it. It was kind of like, it looked more like what I would expect from like a 25th century version of Romulans, but versus like what I kind of think of as being like that 22nd century or 23rd century Romulan. But it was all good. There's some aspects here from like Star Trek Nemesis I'm seeing in like the displays. So anyway, this is the best with Pike and Spock.
Do you want some coffee?
I do not drink coffee. I do drink tea.
All right. Would you like some tea?
No, thank you, Captain.
No.
Yeah, I do drink tea. Tea? No. Yeah. Pike's he's stressing out. Now, guys, I never realized until this episode that this ready room is right off of the bridge. It's right off of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
That the door is always right off of the bridge.
It's always
I didn't realize that this was on deck one with the bridge until this episode, until this moment. When the door opens, I think when Kirk will come in.
But in the original series, you've seen them literally walk from the bridge to the ready room.
No, you never see that.
Yes, you have. Absolutely.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna figure out what episode it was, and I'll make you watch it again.
Okay, make me watch it again because I watched all those episodes with you. Remember?
Yep. I remember the episode.
We have different memories, but I always thought that it was just the bridge and that was it, and there was the turbolift at the back, and then they had to take the turbolift to go to the conference room. I didn't realize it was on the same deck as the bridge until now.
Can we bring in Teddy to settle this?
Or Adam was on that podcast too.
I'll be back in a second. I have a way to settle this.
Yeah, okay, when that door opens there and Kirk comes in, I was like, oh damn, this is the same set as the bridge. Okay. And I don't think they ever had this on the original series, is all I'm saying. It's cool that they do. It makes sense that they would.
It seems like a lot of wasted space. It's a big room.
It's almost as big as the bridge.
Yep.
Or bigger, maybe. I don't know. He's got it's a really cool executive office. It's got a conference table on the side.
It's not Discovery Turbo Lift big, but big.
So does he have a ready room as well, or is this the ready room?
This is the ready room.
Yeah, I'd say this is a ready room.
It's huge, and it's a conference room.
Yeah.
Anyway, conversation here between Kirk and Pike, and basically Kirk's like, "What if I go and get some help?" Right? Or they're coming up with their plan. He's like, he's like, "Hey man, we can't call Starfleet. They're too far away. It would take too long to get here." And they're like, "But they don't know that. We can go get some, ultimately he's going to get some like drones here, and he's going to bring them back." He's
you sneaky son of a bitch.
Yeah,
I have the official Haynes manual for the USS Enterprise. so it should tell me how to repair
Okay,
it as well
but
as what's there.
what we said was I never saw it on screen.
Oh, you're really gonna go there, are you? Okay.
That's what I defend myself here. Anyway, so Kirk has to borrow a shuttle. He goes off to get the thing here. We got a lot of shots here of Spock in the turbo, Jeffrey's tube rather, as he'll get horribly scarred later on here with the radiation. But he's trying to get the phasers back online. I don't know if we hear Scotty in that scene. We got Uhura coming in here.
Yeah, that was the scene we heard Scotty shortly after, I think.
There's this whole scene here with the Romulan commander where he's like, "Hey, is your ceasefire over? It is yours? Yeah, good." And then they kind of like talk. Well, Pike says to him, you might think this is a weak move, but we're actually pretty cool as humans.
But let me tell you a way in which humans are not weak. Our strength comes from our willingness to see a partner instead of an enemy. In our culture, that is an act of faith and strength, not a failure of character.
Seems pretty obvious, but he's like, "Are the Romulans strong enough to follow us?" And Romulan commander's like, "Maybe, but this Romulan subcommander, he has different ideas." And the fleet shows up, guys. The Romulan fleet was called by that subcommander, and it kind of looks cool, but they never give us enough time to really look at all these ships.
That was an oh fuck moment. I was like, oh fuck, this is not good.
Interesting.
All right, Dave.
Warbird designs.
I have the official answer for you.
All right, Jody.
The ready room is not off of the bridge.
Where is it?
It is actually a deck below.
Deck 2.
Yep. So you're absolutely correct.
Well, I guess they retcon that out.
Do they have a fire pole down to that ready room?
Nope. Maybe. You had to use the turbo lift. That's literally the only exit from the main bridge.
Is the turbo lift.
Is the turbo lift. Yep.
Or yeah.
Which, when you think about it, is a very inefficient way of doing
No
things.
kidding.
Like
fire safety? No.
You get a fire in there and you're dead.
This whole thing here where the Romulan subcommander is like, "Yeah, I'm the one who called the fleet," and then the Romulan commander hits him and gets them to drag him away. And then we meet the Praetor. What do you guys think of the Praetor?
I like what Pike said to her. She's like, "It's customary to kneel." He's just like, "Well, since I'm not a Romulan, I don't hope
you won't mind if I don't." Yeah, he's so cool there. He was like, "Screw you, Romulan. I'm not kneeling."
So who is this? She I know her.
She's the Praetor. Oh, the actor?
Actress.
Who played the Praetor? It's Carolyn Scott, whoever that is.
Gonna have to check her out.
She's
just married, isn't she? Though.
She's known from Pushing Tin, Police Academy 4, Goosebumps, other things. Anyway, so
maybe that's where I recognize her then. The Goosebumps.
I thought she was really good. She was like, "I am, you guys are weak, and we're here to take you down. I will accept your surrender now," because the Romulans mean to, I guess, conquer Earth and the Federation. And this is where they call, "Hey, there's more ships coming in," and it's like this, all these Federation ships.
At first, I was like, "What are these?" I'm like, "This is terrible."
I was like, "What are these ships? This doesn't look good."
No.
He shows up with a bunch of space trash for this fight with the elite Romulan fleet.
See, you know what I was missing in this whole episode, and I just kept waiting. I wanted to see Klingons.
In the balance of terror, that's a twist.
I know, but
they're working back to that. They got hurt, man, and they're not going back to the Klingons until they've paid off their time. But they're almost there. Anyway, Kirk shows up. He's like, they don't know that these aren't super duper Delta attack ships that we brought in. Just tell them that we got an awesome fleet here to take them on. And we don't get us into a real fight, Kirk says, and then, so these two are working together. They're getting along. What a team.
Okay. Just to clarify for a second here. He was like, it's like they haven't seen us in the new year. They don't know what our ships look like. And I'm like, okay, so they're in a war, but they haven't seen each other for 100 years. Right. So are they actually in a war, or are they just like, we won't pass this envisionary line and we're going to forget everything and all it just seems more like a ceasefire than a war, really.
Yeah, that there's hostilities. That there's kind of a cold war at the at the best, right? Like like there was a kind of a stalemate in the original Romulan Earth War, and it didn't, it just ended with a neutral zone, and that was it. So kind of like the demilitarized zone in between South Korea and North Korea or something along those lines, right?
Okay.
Where the hostilities never really go away, or
Okay, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, it's like, again, next gen, when we haven't seen them for how many 75 years or something it was back then.
Yeah.
We're
back, Captain, and all that, right? And so the Romulans tend to they're very reclusive. They go away for periods and then they come back, and when they're ready to mess around in the galaxy, I guess. And here, he's like, "Hey, I got the recording of the Romulans destroying my outpost earlier. So you guys are the aggressors." And she's like, "Hey, let me show you a culling." The captain of the Romulan ship calls over to say goodbye. He's like, "Hey, I could have called you friend in another time," just like he does to Kirk when he dies in the original Balance of Terror. And then we see here that he pats his guys on the back, right? And then they're like, "We're gonna die with honor as Romulans."
All right, can I just give this episode a 10? I gotta go deal with.
Yeah, man. Yeah, sorry, I know we're running a bit late here, so
no worries.
Okay, thanks, man.
She should be sleeping. So
you're giving it a 10 out of 10?
10 or 10. I loved it.
All right, thanks for being with us, Davan.
All right, no worries, man. I'm gonna duck out early.
Here, I know we're running late, guys. Here, so I'm gonna try to wrap up the coverage here. But yeah, we see that this Romulan ship gets destroyed, so they die in this timeline as well, just a little bit differently than they did in the original one.
It was brutal. It was very fire, keep firing.
Yeah, and destroy our super high tech prototype weapon with the big.
Bold move. I'm sure they probably have more. They probably want to just send their prototype weapon out there to willy nilly.
Yeah, they gotta have at least 2, right? Anyway, so then this turns into a full on battle. Basically, from that moment on, Kirk kind of he flies all of the robot ships into the way so that the Enterprise can sort of escape, because the Enterprise is greatly outnumbered here.
It was a sweet scene. I like that. The Romulans are thinking those mad bastards. They're just sacrificing all of their ships.
Just kamikaze style moves. Here we can see a couple of more shots of the whole bunch of these birds of prey here. We see
so clearly it wasn't just the one, right?
Right. Yeah, they got quite a few in this battle here. The Enterprise is just trying to get out with the skin of their teeth here, and they get the plasma ball fired at them by one of the other ships. You're right. There was more than one, but they get out of the way in time, and it gets called down to sick bay. Basically, it was the next beat here. The camera goes really strange here.
This is dumb. This part's
dumb. So this they went okay. So this technique is called a snorri cam, where it's basically like an arm where they attach the camera and then it just sort of follows them around or whatever. I liked this technique because it was very this is the reality of why I've been sent here. All of these people are going to get damaged and hurt if I don't,
I just don't think it fit the cinematography of the rest of the episode. That's all.
It was definitely a different. Yes. To further your point, Jody, I feel like this episode there was almost 2 different directors of photography for certain sections of this episode. There's ones where it's just okay, this seems like the kind of lighting I've expected from the show from day one, and then there was all the super intense Romulan stuff where they're just shatter lighting.
I think they're supposed to show the difference between the
timelines, right,
and reality.
Yeah.
I think it definitely stuck out to me. The whole the what do you call it, Chris?
Snorri cam.
Exactly. And so it was. I didn't think they overused it. It did stand out though. And then here we see in this timeline the woman who was getting married at the beginning of Balance of Terror. She dies instead of him, and he's looking sad. And bang,
I think it was a good use of snorri cam because it sort of emphasizes the effect of the shock that he's going through in the scenario.
Here's another shot of it here, not as pronounced. And then here we see, oh man, so Spock is over here.
Dude, yeah.
And he's got his leg and is his hand off there too, I think, but his leg is definitely off. And you see all the green blood that he has, and he's having a bad day himself, but he's not dead.
I thought he was dead there.
Yeah.
When they're just face, I'm oh, he's dead.
See Chapel here. She's the
only time we see Chapel in the entire episode.
In the whole episode is this.
And I'm not gonna. no lie, like the way she delivered this line, like I don't know, I wasn't into it. Like it was
Didn't
like
feel right. Yeah.
it didn't feel like her. It didn't feel like Chapel. Like I get she's shocked and supposed to be like she's giving like a medical report, but even then, it just didn't feel like the character. It just felt like she kind of read the lines, and they're like, "Okay, that's the best take we're gonna."
This
use.
is the
but
7 years
again,
older.
this is like Ortega. She's not playing herself again.
It's not the true. It's
You're
her,
right,
but it's
right.
not. It's her, but it's not.
Yeah, this
so-
shit could have happened in 7 years, so she could have changed a bit. Yeah, absolutely.
Could have
good
been.
point.
We don't know. We don't know all the details. So, but she's wearing the new uniform here. She's wearing blue now. Anyway, just more uniform talk. Anyway, I know I'm getting too hung up on uniforms. Anyway, so Pike ends up in his quarters drinking.
This episode.
It's a long episode. There's a lot to cover. Anyway, Pike in Wrath of Khan uniform shows up. Dave was going. Guys, the uniform is back, and it's still glorious as it was before. I love here that Pike is looking at the photo of him and Robert April from earlier in their careers, with those old school looking original series uniforms on there. Anyway, the whole chat here he has, because this older Pike reveals he went through this once already. He's not the first version to come back and try to change things with the time crystal. And he's like, when I went through it, I thought it was gonna be better, and then it isn't. So we got to change the time here. We got to make a different decision, because if you save those kids and you change the fate of what's going to happen, it's gonna be a lot worse overall, believe it or not. I'm trying to think of who he looks like to me. Like there's somebody in particular he's looking like a lot to me right now. In this older version of Pike. Who is it? Damn it. Okay, so anyway, so
any dad on 50s television.
Maybe that's it.
Captain Jellicoe.
He reveals, guys, that
Jellicoe.
the war with the Romulans that starts is still going on in his time, and millions have already died. So, from whatever exact year he's from, that this is way worse. Kind of seals the whole point of the episode, which was that Pike's fate, while he can change it. There's kind of ripple effects to that.
We all want to think our future is important.
We all want to think our future is important, that we're significant, but it's
Well, this is how they quash anybody saying that he can change his fate, right?
right.
So it's, we know that the series is going to probably end with him being in a chair beeping.
Yeah,
I mean, it has to be, but like they've also given us like it's going to happen in 10 years, so we get at least 10 years of this potentially amazing show. As long
no
as
more
we
than
keep
7, actually.
Well, okay, no more than 7, but I mean, so let's say 7 years, got to take them roughly 10 years to produce all 7 years of this series. By that point, they probably will have established the characters of Spock, potentially Kirk, Scotty, and all these other ones that they may just carry on and potentially redo.
And retcon out the original series.
Well, there is rumors going around that they are planning on rebooting the entire original series.
What a subterfuge way to do so. Just say no.
I really hope they don't.
Yeah, but anyway.
Well, I mean, realistically, I would see them doing that because they want this franchise to build stronger. Admittedly, I would say that the franchise of Star Trek is more popular now than it probably has been in a long time due to shows like Strange New Adventures, Lower Decks, maybe Discovery.
I would agree with that. And I think that they're finding the original series, even when I was growing up, it was hard to watch, for me, and it wasn't that old at that point. But now they're like, I think there are some people who love that retro style, like the Adam West 60s style, but that's a particular taste. And I think they want to have a more modernized version of Kirk and Pike and all these guys.
But there's some episodes they should never do again.
I like this one.
Oh, no, they'll do Spock's brain again.
Spock's brain. Brain. What is brain?
Brain. What is brain?
Or the hippie episode.
Oh, they should definitely do that one.
If they do the hippie episode,
What is brain?
if they remake that fucking hippie episode, I will never watch Star Trek again. I'm done.
No, man, they gotta definitely do that one. I've been trying to do it. As
they
a
do that, I'm done with this franchise.
It will be done.
God,
eventually.
that's a terrible episode.
Anyway, guys, I know we're going really long here. This was a long episode, but he has a drink here with Kirk to kind of close out the episode. And then they kind of go over and have a chat here on the couch. And he's like, I'm from Iowa. My dad served on the Kelvin, and all these things. It was nice. They tied it in well with a lot of different things here, I thought. And then Pike goes through the time crystal thingy or other, changes times, and he deletes the letter to Matt or Ma'at.
Yeah. I'll say
Mayat.
He has this glimpse over here at the couch where I guess he was talking to Kirk. I guess that's what he's kind of remembering is that this Kirk killed. Oh, here we see young Kirk with his service record. A couple things we could tell here. He served on the USS Farragut as well as the USS Republic. He's got the Palm Leaf of Axanar Peace Mission Commendation, as well as Order of Tactics and Ward of Valor.
I wish they were just like he also serviced on the USS Cerritos.
Yeah, no, it's kind of just human male born or working, serving on the USS Farragut at this point. I don't think it states his rank, but anyway, from Iowa. So this is different than the Chris Pine Kirk, of course. Spock shows up and he's like, "Hey, I'm so happy to see you, man. You have no idea." He's like, "Oh, I guess some stuff went down."
I want to say about this scene. Out of all the episodes of this show, I've shed many a tear. So I was going in this episode being like, okay, I can't cry at another episode of fucking Star Trek. Thankfully, I didn't go like super weepy. But when he's just like, "I'm not quite sure, Captain, but I think I have to show you gratitude," and I was just like, just the exact way that Chris Pike had reacted in the episode, I was just like, oh, that brings it, like slight choke up tear moment. That was really sweet, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, it was a good scene. I like that they're doing a lot to establish the connection between these two, which I thought even like if you think back on the Menagerie, I think that was a pretty good. Like they did quite a bit, and it was just Leonard Nimoy working with a guy in a chair that just blinked twice. And even in that version, I think there's a lot to establish connection there. And then obviously this is going much further and establishing all of their backstory. Yep.
On the uniforms, look at their feet, very big
clown shoes in this particular shot. I don't know what to make of that. I think it's just the angle.
I think so too. I think so too.
On the different angles. Anyway, so Pike heads down to the bridge, guys. He's living life. We got this music coming in. He gets Una out of the chair. He's like, "Hey, get out of my chair. Yeah, I'll just tell you what. Say, let's go down, Ortegas. Don't be hating on the Romulans." He can't tell anyone that he knows what Romulans are or look like Vulcans now. So anyway, he sees Uhura. Uhura's like, "What's up with you? What's up with you, Pike?" He's like, "It's okay, man. Everything's gonna be happy. Spock, everything's gonna be all right.
Just making memories with you guys."
That's wrap. We're gonna wrap it here. We'll wrap it up. Season 1. I'm accepting my fate, and it's all good. And Uhura says, "Hey, we're getting a captain from the Cayuga. Captain Batel wants to see you and wants to see number 1 right away." He's like, "Oh, okay. Hey, what's up, Captain? My girlfriend who I was making pasta mama with. Remember pasta mama?
Making pasta mama.
Yeah, we're making pasta
There's
mama.
Kyle.
Yeah. Kyle's the jerk in the transporter console there.
Kyle.
Anyway, Batel has shown up to arrest Una for her deception as an Ilarian. So they're bringing it back to that whole thing that she's genetically modified, which is against the Federation thing. Plus, she lied to get into Starfleet, which is also part of.
Yeah, they mentioned that earlier in the episode. They're like, "Have you talked to Una?" And they're just like, "No, she's been in like maximum security prison for 15 years or whatever."
Seems extreme. It seems like extreme.
So this is how they're going to get rid of Pike's girlfriend
for the last 7 years. This is why they break up.
Yeah,
you just need a good cocksucking gin and tonic to get rid of Pike's girlfriend.
All right, moving on. We got Una here. And, Patel's like, "I don't like this any more than you, Chris." He tries to grab at one point, and Una's like, "I knew this could always happen, so don't worry."
I can't believe I didn't see Miss McMurray in that. I can't believe I never saw Mrs. McMurray in that. A minute of screen time I watched her.
In your Letterkenny. Yeah, in Letterkenny.
Yeah.
She's interesting role here. Anyway, they beam out Una, and like Pike's just like, "Oh my God, what the hell?" And he looks at the camera to finish out the episode, and then boom. And that's how it ends. It's like that's kind of the cliffhanger of season 1.
Yeah, I don't know why we needed to look at the camera thing.
Because they want to let you know there will be a second season.
Yeah, he's like,
It's
We
not
already
done
know
yet.
there will be.
there's gonna be a second season, and we don't know what the fate of. Well, we kind of know what her fate would have been. That she just ends up in jail for the 7 years, but otherwise, everyone else, Pike doesn't lose his command over any, helping to cover it up or anything like that, seemingly. So, yeah, that's the end of that's the Quality Mercy. I know we've been on this for an hour and a half. I know it's been it was an hour episode itself. And here,
It's
if
the
you're listening,
season
I jumped in
finale.
late and I
We
still
gotta
feel
give
like
more
it's gone too
time.
long.
yeah. It was a lot in this, guys. A lot to cover. We're covering the whole season. Adam, what on this episode, on the whole season, you feeling good about it overall?
I love the season. I'm a little dissatisfied with 8 and 10.
Okay, and what
Yeah.
in particular? Just because?
Well, eight was just dumb. Like I said it when we were talking about it. It was just too early to get into that. I mean, it was well done. I just didn't like the episode,
Right.
and I don't know. I felt tonight it just didn't have I guess I'll say it, just the magic that the other episodes have had. I don't know why. I didn't walk away tonight feeling wowed.
Okay. Jody, do you think this was a good finale for the season 1? Are you what are you feeling about it overall?
I'm kind of with Adam on this. I think the episode was good enough, but I don't think it should have been a finale episode. Like, this is, to me, this is something that I think should have been introduced a couple episodes earlier, and then maybe have an episode, like an original episode, where there is now a Romulan conflict, and that's our cliffhanger. That I think would have worked better. But the whole Una being imprisoned or something like that, didn't we have that in the first episode?
Well,
so are we going to just basically do the same thing again for next
but
season?
like even that, like I'm gonna, like, what are they gonna do with that? He's gonna go argue.
He's gonna go plead on her behalf. I imagine like Picard did for Data back in.
Yeah, I just thought of that. It's like a Measure of the Man kind of episode, which is be fine, I guess. But I don't know.
We're definitely getting that in season 2, I imagine. And we don't know what happens to her exactly. So I guess there's still things about this crew that they can explore, even though we know what happens to Pike. We know Spock can never die because he's obviously going to go on to be on the Enterprise, continue with the Enterprise with Kirk. So there's certain things that characters that are sort of have a plot armor around them in that way because it's a prequel. But otherwise, like there's, Hemmer died last week. There's a lot that they can do with some of these other characters to kind of keep us interested and engaged. Chris, you were with us last week. You gave last week's episode 9.5. What do you want to give this one?
Honestly, this one was a solid 10 for me. Like, it was the better of the recent episodes. I'm with Adam. 8 was probably the weakest episode for me.
What would you give that one? You weren't with us that week, but
that was like a 6 for me. Like I was pretty off board with that whole episode up until the moment when his daughter goes in the ether and then she comes back. The moment she comes back, I turned into a weepy mess and I was like, okay, this wasn't so bad. But like the whole episode, it was very cringe-tastic for me. So it was the weakest one out of the whole season for me. But this finale was pretty strong. I thought it was a strong finale. I think I understand Jody and Adam's sort of sentiment on maybe not enjoying it as much, because I would say for you guys and maybe everyone else that it was such a rehash of something you guys already knew. For me, as I said before, I'm not entirely familiar with original Star Trek timeline, so I wasn't familiar with this whole scenario. And I was pretty intrigued, and I was like, "What's happening? What's going down?" So I had a lot of fun watching this episode. Honestly,
some interesting mixed perspectives there. I really liked this episode overall. I don't know if this new Kirk has fully grown on me. I think it's he might in time. I wasn't huge on the Ethan Peck Spock right away either. And I've come around on him. So with that in mind, I think that the episode is near perfect in some ways, but also because of the new Kirk, I'm still got some reservation with. So I'm going to go like 9.5, I think, for this episode. I think it was, it's still one of my favorite episodes of the season. Especially with all the uniform stuff going on. This is the first time we've had those Wrath of Khan uniforms back since Flashback on Voyager back in like 1996. So it's been a long time. Adam, what would your rating be? We don't have Kevin here.
I'm gonna say 7.
7.
Wow, really 7?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was bothered by Kirk. There was no surprises. Like I guess the surprise. I mean, I started the episode saying I was a little surprised by some of the things. I really liked it. I did really like it, but I didn't love it. And when I go back to my other ratings earlier in the season, I love.
You gave it an 11. You gave it an unprecedented 11.
I love that. That was a
Serene Squall.
fantastic episode. You guys didn't like it so much, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with 7.
I liked it. Okay, Jody, you're the last to give us your rating here. What do you say?
I'm really with Adam on this. I was going to do a 7 as well. So
7. We got 2 7s. We got 2 10s, and me at 9.5. Okay, so that averages that at an 8.7. Not bad. Not in the top.
It's
5
not a
even.
terrible episode.
It's not terrible, but it's not an ending. It's not a season.
It
finale.
shouldn't be an ending episode. Yeah, I agree.
I thought it was a better season finale than Picard.
I think it was. I think that this
Wow.
whole
I
season.
mean, that's a pretty low bar there, man.
I think that Picard really a lot of people thought that Picard finished strong. The more I've been thinking about Picard, I was like, I would much rather have a season of Strange New Worlds like this than what I've had in either season of Picard and most of Discovery. I
would say it's a better season finale than Discovery, and I really enjoyed the season finale of Discovery more so than Picard.
The season 3 and 4 Discovery I have enjoyed much more than season 1 and 2, but even considering, I think Strange New Worlds is by far my favorite of the new. It's definitely my new favorite live action Star Trek show that's going on right now. And I think it's right up there with Prodigy in terms of the best shows out there and Lower Decks. So good on you guys. Our overall collective rating for this season. We don't have Kevin's final ratings, but is an 8.7 out of 10. So we liked this season pretty good. Also, that was the rating for tonight's episode. It had 9.3 earlier when I checked it on IMDb.
I rated the season the lowest, apparently.
Jody, you wrote it the lowest, 8.2, but Kevin was kind of close to you, 8.3.
Before we depart here, I just kind of wanted to run this by you guys. So there was a few loose ends throughout the season, like Spock's brother, the whole T'Pring prison society thing like that. What, taking the account of some of the loose strings throughout the season, what are some things you potentially would like to see in the next season of Strange New Worlds? Dave?
Well, I guess
more Strange New Worlds.
I think that the Klingons are the thing that they will have to get back to eventually, is dealing with the Klingons. I think because
hopefully they make them Klingons.
I think they're going to have to reconcile what they did on Discovery. But the good news is that because the original series already established them looking like humans in the original series, they have some things to play with there that they can still explore and kind of distance themselves from that year or two where they were really
either that or give them all headbands.
Yeah, because the Goblin Klingons were not well received overall. And then what else would I want? I guess I want I want them to continue with what they're doing largely. I want them to continue the episodic treatment. I want new Strange New Worlds. I want new missions. I want them to solve things much like they did, like when they overcame the pirates by starting the mutiny, or when they had the Freaky Friday one, the Ghost of Illyria one was a good problem solving. I think these self-contained stories that have, and I like how they've had some common threads. Like they had Mbenga's daughter. They had Chapel and Spock here and there. They had this Gorn thing.
It's the Gorn.
Right.
What about the Gorn, guys?
I think we're definitely getting more Gorn storylines, right?
It's the Gorn.
Yeah, we're getting in season 2. I think that worked okay. So I largely keep it going. I really like it. Pike's becoming one of my all-time favorite captains. This new prequel show I think is I was always kind of coming around with what you do with prequels. When you think of those prequel movies with Ewan McGregor for Star Wars and how that kind of syncs up to original series, original trilogy, I think this is the same thing for me. But now it's almost like replacing that, right? So, and I'm going to have to really figure out how I feel about that in time. But I think mostly I'm okay with it.
I want original, though. I don't want to go back and see
erase
episodes
it.
We've already seen.
You don't want to see, reenact all the episodes. We're going to do... Amok Time again, and we're gonna do
Right.
this one again.
Because I think there's a lot of stories to be told, and we got a whole new crew, and we got to get a new engineer now, which is going to be Scotty Fine. But now we can get a backstory on him, you know.
Yeah.
And I want to see more of the episodic stuff. I'd love to get Cybok. You mentioned Chris. I think that's what's going to happen with that. He was a character we were introduced to really in a movie that was.
They have to be careful with that though, because they can't do much with.
It can be one episode, Jody. It can be one episode.
Yeah, the problem is they just can't do too much with it, because if they do too much, then you kind of kill the movie. Not that that's great anyway, but you kind of kill the movie because there was a mystery behind him. We didn't know who he was, and just all of a sudden we find out he has a brother. Like I just hope they don't go too much into it. That's all.
And Dave, totally agree with you. I want to see Klingons.
Yeah, I want to see Klingons.
Human-looking Klingons, I think. I want to see.
I want to see Klingons from the Trouble with Tribble episode.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
That kind of thing.
I want the Klingons that barely look like Klingons.
Chris, what do you want to see?
Honestly, I'm with Jody. More Strange New Worlds, more episodic. One contained story. More alien life forms that potentially we haven't seen or anything. But also, yeah, I'd like to see more just like alien fauna. More give me a 3-headed deer that's got green palette, because whatever, it just looks cool. Like, give me something like that. I would love to see
more
stuff
exploration.
Like that. Yeah, more exploration. There was a lot of inner ship soap opera drama that oversaturated a bit of this show throughout the season in retrospective. I just want to see more. Give me more Strange New Worlds. Like, live up to the title, play into it. I'm down for the occasional connected storyline. Just make sure the payoffs are well. Don't get all like, we're going to introduce this thing that we have no idea what we're going to do with, and then drag it on for 5 years and call it a smoke monster,
Jody, do you feel like we found the new formula here for Star Trek shows? Like, because in the post streaming era, in the post Discovery era, they've been trying to figure out, like, it's not going to work to do like this 22 episode season post, first run syndication kind of thing. We have to do smaller seasons, 10 episodes, but they were like, when they first came out, Discovery tried to be all like, let's do Game of Thrones style. Let's do these long, huge narratives and whatever. That didn't really work. And now Strange New Worlds being more episodic. Is this the right formula for Star Trek in the modern age, or is there something missing?
Well, I think we are exactly where we need to be. I think the fan base was really starting to get pissed off at stuff like Discovery, where you miss an episode and you're lost. Like, I understand that you want to make the HBO version of Star Trek, but you also have to remember that that's not what it is. The people who grew up, and let's be honest, this show really is kind of for the people that grew up with Star Trek, whether it be my generation, whether it be your dad's generation, for instance. It's made for them, and they remember that every Saturday night or whatever it was on. They remember that as being, it was like watching a mini movie. Like, it was an event every single time. It's not one big event that's condensed into all these little tiny parts that we have to all have, or we don't have the whole puzzle, right? So I think, yes, they did.
Weekly release. Yeah, keep the weekly release format.
I'd love to know what Ted thinks of these. Is he
forward to it?
He won't. I tell him to watch it. He goes, "Is it good?" I go, "Yes," and then he won't watch it. But he'll watch Golf Channel for 18 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
That's what he is into. But yeah, I think, to answer your question, Dave, yes, I think this is what they needed to do. They needed to realize that the shows that really were popular with my generation and your dad's generation and your generation, for instance, we all grew up with that. Like, you grew up with, obviously Enterprise and Voyager and stuff like that. And Next Gen is kind of where you started, right? Same with me.
I'd say even Deep Space Nine and Voyager are specifically more my era than even Next Gen.
I remember seeing the episodes of Next Gen, like when they first aired. So
because I remember watching, like when I was really watching Next Gen, the show had always had its finale really, and we were just watching like the syndication at that point.
But that's what was great about it, because every week you knew it was going to be something completely different that you haven't seen before, or if you did see it, it was a different take on it. It wasn't, I needed to know that. I want them to get rid of that stupid recap thing that they constantly have on this show.
They're never going to get rid of that. They're never going to
get rid of it anyway. But
people like it. Every time it plays on a show we've been watching with Jane, I'm like, Jane, can we skip like the previously on? I like it. We have to watch this, and I need to know what was previously on. I was like, but we already saw this.
The one thing I will give them credit though is they try to keep it to the same amount of time. So it's always 90 seconds.
A foreshadow. Yeah, it's always like a little pocket.
90 seconds. So with my Plex server, I just hit forward 3 times, then it's already gone.
And this show is so much better to watch without commercials. When you watch it with commercials on like CTV Sci-Fi, it's hard. It's rough. I find.
I've only caught it.
I watch it on Crave in the mornings, so
yeah, it's so much better. It's like such a different experience when you watch it with commercials. But anyway, guys, I know we've been here for a long time. We're coming up on close to 2 hours. So
wait a second before you go. I got one more thing, because I think that we sounded pretty hard on Discovery and Picard. I mean, Picard.
I am hard on Discovery.
Yeah, I know
I'm
you
hard
are.
on Picard.
But
not as much on Picard.
I quite enjoyed this last season of Discovery. I really did. And,
me too. I was a big fan of it, especially the last half. The first half, I was like, but that last half was strong, and I love the exploration of it.
I think the 13 episode was a little too long. I think a 10 episode season for that particular story they wanted to tell was enough. I think that they stretched it just a little too much. Even one less episode would have been better. I think that it's much better, like compared to like how much I used to really dislike it. But I think that there's still a long way to go, and it's missing that fun. This crew of Strange New Worlds just had, sometimes it's like magic in a bottle, and you get the right cast together and they work together well. And I feel like Discovery still is looking for that.
They've got it. They just don't use it enough. Like, I mean, Jet Reno, for instance.
Yes.
Right.
And she's one of the best parts of the show.
Yeah. And I agree.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So they need to use the right characters more. I think I think a lot of the B squad over there on Discovery needs to be ironed out. And then
I'm sure a lot of people would be pissed off with me, but also they need to get rid of all the woke shit. There's too much woke shit in that show. I'm all for it, but you need to limit it.
Yeah.
Don't be that blatantly obvious about it, because
I want to know the backstory of Admiral Vance.
That'd be cool.
Sure, Admiral Vance. All right. He's talking to Michael Chan. That's his backstory.
His backstories. Michael Chan's with him.
Michael Chan's been like working with him for forever. Do I have that on? I do here.
When the Mitchell's done, get them back here to pick up as many additional refugees as they can.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
More ship shots.
Do you have any idea where it is?
Yeah, more ship shots, more like show us the space battles in ways we can understand. Don't spin the camera around like you're
the reason why everybody was on the same plane in the shows was to make it so we weren't disorientated. It had nothing to do with anything.
Can you give us a better view? Like, they can be disorientated in the fight. It's fine.
Perfectly frame it and we'll get the idea.
Right. Yeah. Okay, guys. So great season. I really appreciate covering with you guys. There's no new Star Trek show next week. It's like the first time in forever.
Isn't Laura Dex back on?
Not quite yet.
No.
I don't think they've announced
it. Oh, they did it. I saw it today.
No, I think they did they? I don't know. It would make sense that they would announce.
I didn't see it if it was, because I thought we were gonna like basically get a week off at least until Star Trek Lower Decks comes out with season 3.
I know they've been promoting it like there's a new season, but they just keep running ads from last year. So
no official start date for season 3. They said the third quarter, so it's going to be this year, and it will probably be pretty soon. And they're already working on season 4, but it's not been officially slated for when it will start.
Third quarter of 2022. So
isn't that
we got what Lower Decks coming out.
Eventually now in
Prodigy's coming back. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up. I know not everyone's seen Star Trek Prodigy.
We're gonna have at least 2 more seasons of Lower Decks because they've already confirmed season 4 as well.
3 and 4.
Yeah.
Prodigy's got to come back. And we're gonna get at least 5 more episodes this year. I think of Prodigy.
Are they doing like an agent, like a dark agency sort of Star Trek thing with?
They've been talking about the Section 31
Section
show
31
with Michelle Yeoh.
Until I see a fucking
Until I
some
see
sort of
that
trailer or
actually play
teaser or
out.
something, I'm not going to believe it.
It took them 3 years to give us Strange New Worlds, and they finally did. So hey, kudos. Maybe it takes
The
a long time
Section
to develop
31 show was like rumored around DS9. Like that's how long they've been talking about it.
Well, they've been, especially since they did Mirror Giorgio and Discovery, they've been teasing that Section 31 show as long as that.
Well, she's gold. You put her
so
on
season 1.
You put her on
she's
TV
all right,
and
but
people
I
are gonna watch
don't
it.
need a Section 31 show. But
I'm totally fine with that. I want it.
Yeah, so there's something for everybody in Star Trek land and the universe, and you can see all these different shows, Strange New Worlds, whether it be Prodigy, whether it be Lower Decks, or
Speaking of other
Discovery.
shows, Dave.
Yeah, well, Star Trek Enterprise, if you haven't seen it, or even if you have seen it, guess what? We've been going through watching episode by episode for some time now. I don't know exactly when we started, but we're up to season 2 now on Star Trek Enterprise. Every Monday night, we go through
Season
the
2,
next
episode 5 or 6.
we're heading up to episode 7. We just watched an episode called
7.
Marauders. And we're heading into the next episode we're watching this Monday is called the 7th, and it's also the 7th episode of the season.
That's actually a good episode.
So we're gonna be checking that out. Yeah.
Just I don't know if you guys have been following Scott Bakula, but they're bringing back Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
You guys ever watched that back?
Yeah, the original Quantum Leap I watched.
But no Dean Stockwell.
Yeah.
Well, sadly, no. I mean, I think if they do the only way they can honestly do the show, if they're going to do Quantum Leap, the only way they can do it, and this is the way they need to do it, is like the first couple episodes of the first season, they introduce the new character, he goes into the machine, he pulls Scott Bakula out, and then Scott Bakula is Dean Stockwell.
Oh, that'd be neat.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I could dig that.
Yeah,
That's not a bad idea. I really hope they don't use that.
Are you kidding me? That's
some great theme music there.
I hate that theme music.
I hope we get.
So
also,
bad.
check out.
Season 3 made me cry.
Sometimes on Tuesdays, sometimes on Wednesdays, we're talking about Star Trek Deep Space 989 rewatch. We've been going for that for well over 2 years. Back when we started the original series one, we did Deep Space Nine, but Deep Space Nine has way more episodes.
Didn't you guys figure out it was going to be 4 years or something?
3.5 years at least. We took 2
years,
months off, so we've now extended that to almost 4 years. So we just talked about episode 18, Business as Usual, on season 5 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Check that out every Wednesday or Tuesday. We're talking about the next episode of the series, going through one of the best Star Trek shows ever made.
When
plus,
Cisco says, "Fuck your baby."
Yeah, that's because I'm dead. We were talking about that episode last night. Sorry, guys, I'm blanking. Business as usual, as I just said, and the best part was O'Brien.
Why, Quark? Why did you kill my baby?
Why,
Why'd
Quark?
you kill my baby?
Why did you kill my baby?
That's because I'm dead.
So much O'Brien baby drama.
Yeah, O'Brien and the baby.
It's not a good episode, but these guys rated it well.
Check out Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, a channel I do with Jeff and Jaemeel often. We're talking about right now Big Brother 24. We just talked about the premiere. We talked about the cast recently over there. We also talk about Survivor and different reality shows. So if you like any of that kind of stuff, check that out over on Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. Plus, Trivial Debates, a monthly show. We talk about movies, TV, sports, and more. Most recently, we had Chris Murphy hosting with Adam Woodward, Davan Skelhorn, and Jaemeel Robinson competing. It was quite the affair. You should definitely go back and check that out. That was back on June 26th. You can check that out on our channel over there. And coming up this month, July 24th, Jody Simpson hosting with Chris Murphy competing against Jeff Mater, my brother, and Max Duda.
They're in for a doozy, Dave.
They're in for a doozy. Watch out for what will Jody ask.
When the winningest person hosts the episode, you know it's going to be better.
The champ. Adam set for the August episode as well already. He's already thrown his hat in the ring. So
nice.
We got all that set up, guys. So check out our channels, plus our friends podcast like Alex Blackburn, Michael Chen have the Hellbound podcast, and my son Eamon's got a podcast called Let's Talk About Fighting Games that you can check out on Spotify. Or you can also check out Davan's podcast, including Locutors of Trek, where they do tons of different Star Trek things like trivia, writers' room pitches and things, as well as X-Men, the animated series X-Rated, which he does with his buddy Andre out there. They go through each episode of that show. Plus, they're doing special interviews, including they're doing, what's her name? Lenore Zahn, the voice of Rogue.
Voice of Rogue, yeah.
Yeah, and
Voice
former
of Rogue
member of
coming
Canadian
on the
Parliament.
podcast.
Going to be on there. So very exciting. Lots going on in our podcast community. And thank you for being with us for the season. Thank you for still watching right now as we're coming up on 2 hours on this review of A Quality of Mercy, it was called, guys, on Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And it was quite the ride. And if there's nothing else, we'll sign off here, and we'll see you
Gorn.
next time. It was the Gorn.
It's the Gorn.
It's the
Making pasta mama.